Hello and welcome to Quartzlight, your car brochure channel, and in today's episode, the March 1987 Ford Sierra hatchback. Hello and welcome back. Now if you're new to Quartzlight, we're a car brochure channel here on YouTube, looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s and sometimes beyond that as well. So if you're interested in cars, car brochures, looking back at cars gone by, really all about those memories, then please do consider subscribing. Anyway, back to today's episode. This particular episode was first aired on a Friday. We call those episodes Ford Fridays for obvious reasons. We're looking at Ford every Friday. Now we've been doing a series, we've been looking at this 1987 or March 1987 Ford range for the UK. This is a UK brochure. We've been up to the Sierras for some time. Last week we went back 1 month and looked at the February 87 range of Sierras pre-facelift. So this essentially is the first month when they facelifted the Ford Sierra, so the range changed a little bit. Last week, of course, some very unusual models I don't remember, like the LX pre-facelift, the GLS pre-facelift, and we even had an S, so the S and the GLS sold at the same time. Really too big a range. Well, spoiler alert, they've got rid of the S now, so the range actually makes a bit more sense. Anyway, it's a Sierra range, so it's going to be a long one, so let's throw that on the board and get on with it. So here it is, the restyled Ford Sierra. This particular number plate actually looks like it's a genuine number plate. It's actually showing the screws on the number plate, so maybe that's a real one. We can only hope. Anyway, we've got a lot to get through, so let's not talk too much about the models before we actually get to them. Usual sort of thing, we get a bit of an introduction to this new facelifted, stylish, it says stylish and efficient from nose to tail. The 1987 Sierra hatchbacks and estates set new standards, etc, etc. So yeah, we're looking at the new restyled Sierra. Let's turn the page though, and I'm going to lift this up because it keeps making a noise like so, and then I'm going to turn the page to the models proper. Now, very similar to the pre-facelifted Sierra, the first page is showing two models. The Sierra Saloon, i.e. not even the L, which it's got. That is all there is. No even images for that. Very much a model that's becoming less and less relevant, that super base model. Someone mentioned they actually did that for tax reasons. I'm not 100% sure about that. I'm sure that may well be the reason, but I don't know any information about that. But certainly it was there as the Sierra range starts at, but no one would ever really, certainly the private owner would never really start with this, and I'd be surprised if there was any in the dealership. Anyway, I'm sure you were straight away steered to the L as being your actual base model. So I'll read this very small paragraph for the Saloon, then we'll look at the L and then these rather nice images. Now, just to remind you what the pre-facelift model looked like, because this is quite a nice example because it's in a very similar colour. We can see the L model of the pre-facelift there, sort of recessed lights, indicators in the bumpers, etc. Now we've got those indicators at the side of the lights. I quite like the look of the pre-facelift model, but you know, I'm not complaining too much because I actually liked how they facelifted it as well. I think they did a good job of trying to modernise the Sierra, and then you've got little things on there as well, like they changed the steering wheel design to this more modern looking steering wheel, etc, etc. I don't want to spend too much looking at the pre-facelift model because we have done a very long episode of that already, and there will be a link at the end of this episode if anyone missed that one. Let's start here though. So here is that base model then, Sierra Saloon, the value for money Ford Sierra Saloon's wind cheating body, fully independent suspension and spacious, versatile interior established new standards for the rest of the new hatchback range. And that's it. So Ford themselves are actually fed up with this base model, so they're going to ignore it, let's ignore it as well and move on to the Sierra L. The new Sierra L brings more equipment and a choice of 3 engines, all with a 5-speed gearbox as standard. To Ford's new range of sure-footed hatchbacks, if you prefer to let advanced technology look after the gears, Ford's 4-speed automatic transmission is available with the 1.8 litre power unit. I'm just going to manually move the camera around if you don't mind. Apologies for the little bit of a shaking around there. So we've got a choice of engines: 1.6, 1.8, 2.3 litre diesel, all with 5-speed gearbox. We get colour-toned polycarbonate bumpers, black body side mouldings with bright inserts, tailgate wash wipe operated by convenient control of steering column, 2 remote controlled door mirrors, spacious and versatile interior with colour-keyed velour carpet and 60/40 split folding rear seat back, plus quick folding rear cushion, illuminated boot with fleece carpet, seats trimmed with attractive hardware in helix and plain helix cloth, driver's seat adjustment for height, coin box, vanity mirror in passenger, swivelling sun visor, high quality all electronic self-seek FM cassette with 6 speakers. So if you remember, the pre-facelift model was always going about 4 speakers. They've now increased that to 6 speakers even on a lowly L. Insurance groups 4. So you notice that with Ford, they had to start putting more and more equipment on there to compete with everybody else. And you certainly see that when you look at the 70s brochures and even the pre-facelifted Sierra, how now they're starting to give more equipment, like let's put 6 speakers on there instead. So we get a little bit of an image of the dashboard there, and that rather nice actually looking self-seek FM cassette actually, and I think that's for a base model. I'm saying a base model, we were ignoring that basic, super basic one. Let's call the L the base model, because essentially that's what it was. Apologies for the camera going in out of focus, maybe I should just zoom in a little bit better. It's struggling a little bit, but for the time, I don't think that was bad actually to put that on a base level Sierra. I know on my dad's 88 Sierra it had this on there, and I thought it wasn't bad for the time. It looked quite nice considering you was only in an L spec Ford. Text wise, it goes on about the same information. They're piped through no fewer than 6 speakers. Like I said, adding a couple of speakers on this these Sierras now from the pre-facelift model. It also notes the new Sierra has increased height, door glass, a flush fitting direct glazed windscreen, wraparound front indicators and flush fitting headlights. All those changes from the pre-facelift. Also tells us the Sierra's ergonomic design makes all controls and instruments extremely easy to see, identify, reach and operate. The Sierra L's features include a digital clock and a cigar lighter. So even the L gets, your split fold seats as well. Versatility is one of the Sierra hatchback's most attractive assets. Exceptionally large loads can be carried in the Sierra L by lowering either or both sections of the split folding rear seat. Apologies, I don't know what's going on with my camera today. Again, it's zooming in and out randomly. Apologies for that. I hope it gets better as the show continues. It shows us a nice interior shot as well as a side shot. It says doors with high security locks protect the interior, whose comfort and refinements cut long journeys down to size. Drivers of the Sierra L below appreciate a seat that can be raised and lowered, and again, not too bad for a base model Ford, I don't think. And there is the front end. It tells us the Sierra L, shown above, that we're looking at now, has the optional tilt or slide glass sunroof with integral louvered blind, available at an extra cost. I do believe that sunroof even became standard on the L later on as well. So there we go, a nice update really, but let's move on to the next model. So here is the LX to sort of bridge that gap between the L and the GL. We did see it on the February 87 pre-facelift, and I don't really remember the LXs as a pre-facelifted Sierra, but certainly as a facelifted Sierra they were very, very common. Highlights, of course, was that sort of like red insert on the bumpers, something that Ford always used to do for the sporty models, and this wasn't really what I would call a sporty model. After all, you could have it with a lowly 1.6, but I'm not really sure why they went for that. And then if I just quickly show you the previous LX from the February 87 brochure, the rare one, we will note 1 month before, when they was still promoting the pre-facelifted Sierras, bright insert on the bumpers. Like I said, I don't remember these too well, the LX versions with the bright inserts, but someone said let's throw some red inserts on them and make them stand out a bit, and I think it was a pretty good idea, really. It was certainly a more memorable model, I think, when they put the red inserts in there. Anyway, let's have a look at the text and we'll zoom around some of these nice images. It tells us Ford's new Sierra LX hatchback accelerates into the future, complete with tinted glass, a sunroof, tachometer and many other value for money features. Engine choice includes a smooth and flexible 2 litre, a power unit combining performance with economy. So I guess kind of like promoting that you can actually get a 2 litre LX, which would have been certainly more sporty than a 1.6, of course. So we can get a 1.6, 1.8 and a 2 litre, no diesel for your LX. That wasn't, I don't think it went with the red inserts. I think maybe that's what they was thinking. So we get bumpers and body side mouldings with smart distinctive Cobra red inserts, lower body sides painted to match bumpers, tinted glass, screened glass tilde slide sunroof, full wheel covers. We get that 60-40 split in the rear seats. We do now get a tachometer, which, you know, I kind of like always thought the LX was, if you're going to buy one as a private owner rather than, you know, a company car, which I'm sure there were so many sold as company cars, of course. But I think if you was buying one as a private buyer, I think the LX was really where you would probably start looking, really. I certainly think you would have had more pride of ownership moving to an LX. It doesn't sound much just putting red inserts in there, but, you know, we've got nice things, the sunroof. You know, we've got these rather nice. We've got a tachometer now, and that was certainly something that was missing on the L. Let's have a look at the images. So it says sunroof standard, electrically ABS system available at extra cost. It says the Ford Sierra LX's adjustable instrument panel lighting helps take the strain out of night driving. Moving the camera down manually, it's showing you've got this sunroof, which is a manual unit. You know, you've got a little bit of a crank to turn, but still a nice little feature for the time. Tiny little image of this particular Sierra D37KHJ, probably a made up or number plate. That's probably not real, I'm going to guess, as that seems to be the results of every other one we seem to have a look at. It tells us the well-equipped instrument panel below. Let's have a look at that. There is your well-equipped instrument panel. I think the main thing really was you do get a rev counter. It tells us this one's got optional paint, metallic paint, because it's in silver. I guess you just have to say that. What else did it say? Oh, this one's apparently got optional ABS, like we could tell. And an aerial in tailgate heating element available at extra cost. Okay, it's telling us we've got lots of extra equipment on there. Who cares? There is your interior. Not much different really, is it, from the L, but like I say, a few nicer features. It looks quite nice in silver, I think. Yeah, it quite suits it with that sort of red insert. Different wheel cover as well. It's also telling us that at the bottom here Insurance group's the same, 4.4, but if you move up to the 2 litre, it's now insurance group 5. And a look at that luggage area. If you notice though, the hatchback's got quite a high sill, hasn't it, to lift things in there, but you could argue it's certainly more practical, of course, than the new Sapphire. Then moving up to what I always think is the start of the more up markets, or more luxurious, although it wasn't really luxurious, but the certainly more up market Sierras, the Sierra GL. You kind of like think if they give you a GL as your company car rather than L, you was doing quite well in the company. Certainly much nicer looking interior, I think. Still not a lot on there. I mean, we've still got wheel covers, etc. We've gone back, of course, to being a bright insert rather than a red insert, denoting more luxury than sporting, I kind of feel. Like I said, the LX wasn't really sporting, but I think it quite suited, actually, having that red insert. It made it a bit more special, I think. Anyway, I'm talking nonsense, really, but we'll have a look at this text and we'll look at some of these images. So first of all, at the far right, it tells us we get a sunroof standard, all-important central locking. It was a pretty big car, really, not to have central locking, but nice to see it on the GL. Windscreen rapid de-ice available at extra cost, and we've got ABS available at extra cost as well. Tells us electrically operated and heated door mirrors are typical of the way the new Sierra GL hatchback makes life easy for drivers. The GL also has extra sound insulation. It helps fight fatigue on long journeys and also highlights the excellence of this fleet-footed hatchback's 6-speaker audio equipment. Engine choices, we've dropped the 1.6, although we can have a diesel now, so a 1.8, 2 litre or 2.3. We got electric powered and heated door mirrors plus motorised central door locking with torch key, make for increased convenience and safety. We get tailgate wash wipe, tinted glass, screen glass sunroof, illuminated cigar lighter and front ashtray. Excellent storage facilities include 2 door bins, illuminated glove box, coin box and additional space in central console, plus tunnel mounted box with padded lid and provision for cassettes. We also get on the GL door panels fully trimmed with Starline cloth. The strobe trimmed rear seat back has central armrest with deep side bolsters for increased comfort. We also get that 60-40 split. Instruments include a tachometer housed in ergonomic panel with enhanced and adjustable illumination. And of course we've got the high quality all electronic self-seek FM cassette with 6 speakers. Insurance groups 4 again, unless you get the 2 litre and it moves up to 5. Makes sense just to tilt the camera that way to have a look at the inside of the GL. A zoom in on that nicer interior, and yes, of course, we get a centre armrest, which always was something that denoted more luxury, wasn't it, on higher spec models, and kind of like a nice sort of armrest there for the front seat passengers as well. And there you can see it opening up for a little bit of cassette storage as well. How lovely. This one's got metallic paint, extra cost of course. And a look on the outside, so different wheel trims denote the GL. And this one's actually in quite an unusual and probably quite rare colour. Then we move on to the model I always quite liked, actually, the Sierra GLS, the more sporty model with the 2 litre EFI and that Bosch L-Jetronic fuel injection system. Was always an interesting car, and actually for the time, for what they were, a pretty reasonably performing car actually. 118 miles per hour top speed, 0 to 60 9.3 seconds. Shame they only came with non-alloy wheels. Actually this is a wheel cover, but still quite an unusual, and from a distance you kind of like mistake them for alloy wheels. Actually they were quite a clever wheel trim. Unusually for this one, it's not showing it with any sort of headlamp wash wipe on it. So the early ones not coming with headlight wash wipe. So they're unusual. Anyway, we'll have a look at the text, come back to these nice images. So Sierra GLS, so we get a sunroof standard, central locking standard, windscreen rapid de-ice, extra cost, ABS, extra cost, smooth and swift. The new Sierra GLS combines the sporting characteristics with the practical assets of a versatile hatchback. The 2-litre EFI engine with a fuel injection and one of the world's most powerful management systems is complemented by an uprated suspension system and provides superb road holding and handling. Just one engine now, so like we mentioned, that 2-litre EFI engine. 0 to 60 9.3 seconds, top speed 118, which actually incidentally is exactly the same performance quoted for the pre-facelifted model, so no improvements there. Road holding and handling optimised by fully independent sport suspension with variable rate rear springs and thicker front stabiliser bar. We get 14-inch wheels with 195/60 tyres, full wheel covers, styled in keeping with the GLS's sporting character. Tinted glass, 2-spoke sport steering wheel. Instruments include tachometer. We of course get that self-seek FM cassette with 6 speakers, but we also get electrically operated front windows. A glimpse that we do get colour key door mirrors now, and Group 5 as it's a 2-litre. A look at the interior and the seats. So electric front windows rear. You had to manually crank them though. The sunroof, of course. So there's a nice little image of the rear. So it says aerodynamically efficient is enhanced by the Sierra GLS's tailgate spoiler, which I always thought it quite suited. And you can see how it's badged there as well. Sierra 2-litre I GLS, and of course red inserts in the bumpers. The picture we're going to look at next, it tells us integral front fog lights, body colour door mirror housings and bumpers with Cobra red inserts identify the new Sierra GLS. And there it is, sadly falling on the crease, but certainly I always thought they stood out actually, the GLS models. They certainly looked the part. Anyway, let's move on. And moving on means the car you aspired to own, the Sierra Gear. This gear model is showing headlamp wipers, although it might be an optional extra at this time. We'll do the same as always, we'll look at the text and we'll come back to these nice images. So the Sierra Gear, rather nicely showing the gear badge there to the right. Sunroof standard, central locking standard, windscreen rapid de-ice extra cost. It also goes on to tell us air conditioning extra cost, electrically ABS at extra cost. You think you'd throw some of them on the Gear model, but never mind. The luxurious new Sierra Gear hatchback price is as attractive as this prestigious car's specification. Designed to delight comfort-loving drivers, the Gear also provides backseat passengers with their own heating and ventilation ducts. Central locking all-round electrically powered windows are other assets. So certainly it was nicely equipped. I mean, I joke when I say it should have more equipment on. Actually, it was quite nicely spec'd for the time. You could get this as a 1.8, so you didn't even have to get the 2-litre if you didn't want to, but even the 1.8 Gear was a Group 5 insurance. The 2-litre actually moves it up to a Group 6, so those luxuries cost you a little bit extra each year in insurance. So you get the 1.8 or that 2-litre EFI, colour tone bumpers with wide body side mouldings with bright inserts, integral front fog lights, electrically operated and heated door mirrors with stylish body colour housings. We do get alloy wheels. I often say Gears should have alloy wheels, and now they are, so that's certainly a welcome change for me. And I think because they came with alloy wheels as standard, I think they really stood out from the other lower models. We get a tinted glass, screened glass tilt or slide sunroof. We get central lock-in with torch key. Variable intermittent wipe are typical of the Sierra Gear's practical luxury. Interior now is an astral fabric. 3-function digital clock. We get a front and rear courtesy lights with delay timer, plus overhead console with adjustable map reading lights. Luxurious rear compartment with heating and ventilation ducts, head restraints, centre armrests and front seat back map pockets. Electrically operated front and now rear windows as well. Rather nice how Ford used to keep giving you that little bit extra and making you want the next model up. There are your adjustable map reading lights, although you notice your sunroof is still, you still have to crank that on your own. Moving down, there's your Ford's high quality all electronic radio cassette unit. Sierra Gear's sound system includes a power amplifier now as well. Moving down still further, a look at what you would see for the most of the time if you actually own the car. This particular example is in rather a nice shade of blue actually, and I think those alloy wheels are probably my favourite of the time actually. I even prefer these to higher spec Sierras. I think they were my favourite alloy wheel of the time. Like I say, it's also showing this model with headlamp wash wipe. And yes, I just read the small print there. That headlamp wash wipe was an optional extra at this time, even for the Gear model. I think really for the Gear though, I think if you actually saw one of these Gear models in the showroom and sat in it, I think you would be tempted by them. I mean, they were a lot nicer interior, even having rear seats having those head restraints as well. And then that takes us to the top model for the time, the Sierra XR 4x4. I think the range makes a little bit more sense than the end of the facelifted model with the S thrown in there as well. It didn't really fit in, really, in my opinion. Anyway, the XR 4x4, maybe this was the car you always dreamt of. Permanent four-wheel drive certainly had its advantages. Let's read the text, come back to these images for this final model, and then let's have a chat. And this little picture falls quite nicely, doesn't it? A nice front end I always thought for the XR 4x4. Certainly something a little bit special, but an expensive car, let's not forget that. Tells us sunroof standard, central locking standard, windscreen rapid de-ice, extra cost, air conditioning, extra cost. And it even tells us ABS is extra cost, which you'd think at least they've brought a standard on this model. But nevertheless, potent but practical, the sensational XR 4x4 is a supercar whose advanced technology provides many important benefits. Ford's acclaimed four-wheel drive transmission gives this fast hatchback astonishing stability and traction, particularly in adverse conditions. It enables full use to be made of the XR 4x4's powerful V6 engine. So yes, we get a 2.8 litre I should say, with Bosch K-Jetronic fuel injection. Delivers a smooth 150 PS at 5700 RPM. Permanent engaged four-wheel drive transmission incorporates smooth progressive limited slip differential with viscous coupling. Torque is split 34-66 front to rear to provide the handling favoured by more sporting drivers. Fully independent sport suspension and variable rate rear springs with gas-filled shock absorbers. Vivid performance matched by uprated braking system with discs at front and rear, alloy wheels, power assisted steering, body colour bumpers with tailgate spoiler, small spoiler on offside wiper arm keeps blade in contact with windscreen at high speed. We also get a sports type front seats with lumbar and driver's height adjustment, sports type steering wheel with centre horn push, which is there, tinted glass, sunroof, central locking, electrically operated front windows, effective sound insulation, so strangely it looks like we're getting manual rear windows, top quality electronic sound system with power amplifier, 6 speakers and heated backlight antenna. Now we've moved up to a 2.8 notice insurance group 6, which I actually don't think that was too bad for what it was. I look at it from the side in this sporty red colour. We can see this has got wash wipe on there as well. Different alloy wheel, although like I said, I think I preferred the standard gear alloy wheels, but obviously that's just a personal thing. You can also see the rear spoiler is colour keyed on there as well. The interior, very nice. And then we get a couple of like moody little shots. There it is. It struggled to tune in actually there. It's a bit of a grainy shot actually when I move in quite as close as that, because it's a tiny image, of course. Other little images that it's showing is, you know, your power amplifier there. And of course we get that sunshine roof. Interesting, it's also telling us that headlamp wash wipe is also an optional extra on these early facelifted models. And then that takes us to the estates. I'm going to do something different this week though. We always like skip through the estates really fast, don't we? This week I'm actually save looking at the Sierra estates for next week. We'll probably have another glimpse of the pre-facelifted estates, which we rushed through last time, and have a proper look at the estates. Also, that'll give me the opportunity, if you got any questions, any more like information or technical specs you want me to have a look at in that show, we'll also answer a few questions if there are any from our viewers on that show as well, because we've been looking at Sierras for a few weeks now. I'm sure there's some things you probably want me to have a look at in technical specs, so ask those questions in this show. And on the episode where we look at these estates, we'll probably go over some of those technical specs that you want to see. But anyway, we should at least look at the prices for these Sierras. Okay, so when we got this facelifted model brought in, the cheapest car you could get, of course, was the saloon, as in the model that wasn't even the L. Sapphires were always a little bit cheaper, but we're looking at the hatchbacks today. So the cheapest 5-door Sierra you could get was £7,346.79. Although I'm sure most people would have moved up to an L at £7,746.93. So £500 or so just to move up to the L. I'm sure everyone would have bought that who weren't looking at the base model for some kind of like company tax purposes. Although I think if you was a private buyer, I think it's still worth moving up a little bit more for the LX at £8,146.86, which is pretty good value for money. Now they're all the 1.6 models. I'm not sure whether you want 1 to 1.6, but if you moved up to a 2 litre LX, which would have made for quite a nice car actually, you had to move up to £8,568.55. Of course you can keep going on and on and on. The most expensive model, of course, was the XR4x4, which was £13,395, so a very, very expensive car for the time. I'm sure you'll agree. I think I would have been happy with a gear though at £10,995. But let me know in the comments which you would think is the sort of key model, or let me know what your dream would be. Let me know what the most sensibly priced vehicle that would make the most sense buying a car, as in a new Sierra. Of course, they made more sense and the second-hand market where you could pick them up very reasonably priced, and not much more for a GL to a gear if you on the second-hand market. I think that's really where your savings were. But certainly, like I say, the XR4x4 was a very nice car, but an extremely expensive one at the time. And then, of course, you could fill it with all the options. Let me know if you want to see the options. Maybe I'll include some of that information in the next show. But there you go, the Ford Sierras in March 1987, as in the facelifted Sierras. Pretty nice cars. I think these early ones had a few rust issues, no doubt, but certainly I always quite liked these Sierras at the time. Let me know what your favourite model will be. Let me know what model you had and how you got on with it. I always love those sorts of comments. And don't forget, next week we're going to look at the Sierras, as in the facelifted. I might have another look at the pre-facelifted Sierra Estates as well. So Estates next week. And also on that show, if you've got any questions, anything you want me to have a look at, as in for specifications you want me to particularly to have a look at for these models, certainly shout out and we can cover those little questions in that show as well. So jot any questions that you might want me to have a look at for either the February, as in the pre-facelifted, or the facelifted Sierras. But we'll end, as we always do, by saying thank you for watching Quarterlight today on your Friday for Ford Friday and the March 1987 Ford Sierra 5-door hatch. If you're not done already, please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free, helps the show and helps you give you better information. You can also become a member if you like, have a look at that on our homepage. I'll also add a couple of boxes here, so around here it usually falls. One will be for where we're up to so far, so the March 1987 range of cars, and in that sort of like series we were also looking at the February 1987 cars as well. So click on that if you've missed any episodes. We've still got the Sierra Estates to look at yet. We've still got the Capri, as in we'll have to go back 1 month for the Capri, won't we, of course, because by this stage it has gone. And we've also got the Granada to go on there. But once we've got all this particular series wrapped up, this box will include every episode in this series, and then usually we've got sort of like a random episode that will appear here. But thank you so much for watching today. Please do come back soon. Take care, have a great weekend, and goodbye.